Lauren Krumholz, one of
Mhm.
my all-time favorites. Let me tell you, honey, just to put you in perspective. Uh, we've done 35 of these interviews, by the way,
Wow, that's impressive.
and the accomplishments of these people, amazing, amazing, gratifying for me. But the first one I did was a young lady whom I only had in the sixth grade, and she left, just like you. But the impression she made on me was the same that you did. Now, you might know this, you might know the family, I don't know, but her name is Catherine Rampell.
Oh, yes, of
She
course.
writes for the Washington Post.
That's
Okay.
very impressive.
Yes, yes. Okay, hon, you left here in sixth grade. It's all yours. Take it away.
Okay, so yeah, it's been a while. I left in sixth grade and I was just so well prepared for everything that's come since then, both in terms of my foundational skills and all the knowledge I had gained, and then also just in understanding how helpful, school can be in relationships with teachers. And so I went on to the Benjamin School. And, I was so prepared that I repeated an entire year of math. It was all review because I had already learned it. With all the books I read in your class, I reread them, in middle school and high school. And I thought, oh, okay, sure, I'll do this again. And it's so funny because the Benjamin School was such an academically rigorous school, prepared me very well for college. And yet, I was so ready to be at Benjamin based on my time at Palm Beach Day. And so then it was time for me to look at colleges. And being, from South Florida, I am a wimp when it comes to cold weather. So, as I was searching, I was visiting all these beautiful campuses. And I just realized I didn't want to go too far north. And so I went onto Duke University's campus and I thought, this is the place for me. I think it's a beautiful campus. The students seem like they work really hard and they're very fun and social. And so I applied early to Duke and fortunately got in, so I didn't have to deal with any other college applications.
Where was this now, honey? What college?
I went to Duke University in
Duke
North Carolina.
University. My goodness, great. Let me interrupt you just for a minute.
Of course.
My sophomore year, okay, in those days, I was on the basketball team at Maryland. So we went, freshmen couldn't play varsity then. So my sophomore year, my first trip, we go down to play the tobacco schools, Duke, North Carolina State, et cetera, et cetera. And so we played North Carolina on a Saturday night. We stayed over at the hotel Sunday. We played Duke on Monday night. So Sunday, we don't know what to do. And I was on first trip. So the guy said, let's go. We'll show you Duke, the university, beautiful university. It was so absolutely beautiful. So we go and look. Now, we had wanted to practice, but they said it's a denominational school, nothing on Sunday, nothing. So we're walking around and I said, where's the gym? And they said, oh, there it is. Imagine I played on that floor. Imagine how old I am and how old that floor is. So one of the guys went around. He said, hey, guys, come here. So we went around and there was a crack in the window and there was Duke practicing. I've hated them ever since. Anyway.
I know, most people do. And nonetheless, when I was there, we won the national championship my first year and my third year of being there. So it was quite fun to be at that basketball school and be a Blue Devil. But I know a lot of people.
You were one of the Duke crazies, huh?
I was, exactly. That's right. So yeah, I enjoyed being there so much. It was just what I was expecting. And when I arrived, I thought I would be pre-med. Both of my parents are physicians, and I've always been so interested in medicine and promoting physical health. And when I was there, I took my first psychology course. And I was just so interested in psychology, intrigued by it, just wanted to learn more. And I found myself so drawn to this field of psychology, ended up majoring in psychology. I also was so interested in education. I think this really comes from, starting in my days at Palm Beach Day, even from kindergarten on, where I just believed so much in the power of education to be transformative for kids. And so I found myself taking a lot of education courses. And so then, by the end of my time at Duke, I won different awards, like the best performance in the psychology major and, a distinguished award in the education department. And it just felt so good to be appreciated for these areas that I was so interested in and passionate about. And so then I had to decide, am I actually going to go to medical school like I had planned, or will I maybe take a different route and earn a PhD in child and adolescent psychology? And so I took a year off, and I worked at Duke's Transdisciplinary Prevention Research Center, where I was able to take this substance abuse prevention program and modify it. And I actually got to run a pilot study in a middle school in Durham, North Carolina. And I just enjoyed doing research a great deal. And so I realized the PhD route was the way I was going to go. And so next I went, even though, I enjoyed North Carolina so much, I was still cold, even being there as a, Palm Beacher. So I went to the University of Texas at Austin for my PhD, and they had just the right program for me. It was focused on both school psychology and child clinical psychology. So it was kind of uniting these areas that meant so much to me. And so I was there for, many years working on my doctorate. And I must say that when I was sitting down and writing my 250 plus page dissertation, I was definitely thinking of you and how thankful I was for all the grammar I had learned along the way. It certainly helped my mentor not to have to do as much editing. So thank you. And so I finished, my dissertation, and then you get matched to a residency for the last year of your PhD program. So I matched to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, which was a wonderful place to be. I had so many great experiences there. I got to work in a sleep clinic. I was on the cardiothoracic organ transplant team. Just so many new experiences. And from there, I thought, well, I didn't mind the cold so much. Maybe I could even, stay up here a little bit longer in the Northeast. And so I looked at a postdoctoral fellowship in Boston, and I ended up at Harvard Medical School for my fellowship. And what I did during that time was, I realized that, I had studied so many of these evidence-based psychotherapies for children. And so there really were these therapies that exist and that work so well, but they weren't making their way into the real world. They get stuck in the ivory tower. So for my fellowship, I was just focused on disseminating all these interventions with empirical support so that they were actually making their ways into the clinicians that are on the front lines. So I ran a large study with multiple sites in the Northeast. I also led training in New Zealand. I supervised therapists in Norway. So really focused on national and international dissemination of best practices for child mental health care. And at the end of all of that time, I was finally done with my training. And I decided that I would stay for one more year at Harvard. My mentor was in the psychology department and wanted me to run his research lab. So I did that. And at the same time, I found this dream job out in California at Stanford Medical School, where I was going to be on the faculty as a child psychologist. And I was offered the position, was ready to go. And then I met my dream guy, my now husband, and he lived in Boston. And so hard decision to figure out, do I keep following my career path, which has been, what I've done for so many years, or do I take this chance, and stay in Boston? And it just so happened that a wonderful job became available in Boston through the Cambridge Health Alliance, which of all the Harvard teaching hospitals, it's the one that is a community hospital and it's focused on serving underserved populations. And I felt like it would be a great professional home for me. And they wanted me to come and create my own clinic that was focused on evidence-based child psychotherapy. So I would be, delivering these best practices in child mental health care to the kids and families that otherwise wouldn't have good access to mental health care. And so I decided to stay, and I also got to be on the faculty at Harvard Medical School, and so I got to teach and train, supervise psychiatrists, psychologists, and also develop this clinic from the ground up, which was really exciting opportunity. And in the meantime, I was creating my own private practice in the Boston suburbs. And so, this was another opportunity to bring these, interventions that I knew work and put them out in the real world with lots of school collaboration and working closely with other providers like pediatricians. And so I've been, creating this big private practice that's been really successful and very exciting. There's so much mental health need, especially during the pandemic, but even before that. And so it's keeping me really busy, and so nice to also be a part of academic medicine, where I can continue teaching and training and supervising the next generation of leaders in mental health care. I also do research and, writing, and on the side. So everything I've learned, at Palm Beach Day, just it made such an impact, and getting me ready for these different steps and helping me be successful in all of this schooling, which I really enjoyed. But also it just helped me care so much about wanting to connect kids with schools, and and with all the positive experiences that could come from having great relationships with teachers or with other students. And so it certainly shaped, where I've been over these many years since 6th grade.
Wow, impressed, very
No.
impressive. Now, a couple things. Let me say this. When you were in the 6th grade, I don't know if you know, of course you didn't know it, but I used some psychological things on you that I had picked up along the way. When I was getting my teaching certificate, I wasn't in college. I was in liberal arts, English major in that. I wasn't in education. I didn't have any education courses, honey. So to get this certificate back, I needed a course in psychology, educational psychology. So I went to the University of Pittsburgh, because I was home then, and I said that I need this course. They said, sorry, closed. I said, but I need a course for certification. They said, there's only one psychology course open. I said, what's that? Skinnerian behavioral psychology. And it changed my life, honey. I'm sorry. Because I think, and I firmly believe behavior is shaped and maintained by its consequences.
Absolutely.
And I remember using some of those tricks in school.
I remember.
I would never, especially someone like you, because you were always giving correct answers and coming up with brilliant, but I wouldn't reward you every time, maybe every 5th time or 6th time, just the way the gambling thing is set up.
Okay. Intermittent reinforcement. I know it works
Yeah,
so well. Just wanted your praise.
Right. And some of the more difficult things, because I don't know if you remember, but I gave you extra work. That I don't know if you knew.
I didn't know that, no.
Oh, no. Some very difficult. It was very difficult too. I was giving it to the 8th graders. It was reading thing. But I remember another principle I used to successive approximation. You don't
Sure, shaped my behavior. Definitely.
That's. I just wanted you to know that.
I know it worked so well. It definitely works so well. And by the way, my mom actually worked in Skinner's lab when she was an undergraduate at Harvard.
She did.
Yeah, with the pigeons and everything.
And what else I want to get your input on, because in these this is the 35th interview I've done, honey.
Wow.
I had 4 PhDs, 3 of them philosophy, one at Wake Forest, one at North Carolina, another one I forget where. And I'm into anthropology, and especially Darwinian things. And I ask all these people, tell me, where's your department stand on mimetics, memes? And I get so many different answers from them. I've had one say, oh, they just, most of the people ignore it as something it's childish or that. And I have others that say, no, it's really, so how do you stand on that? Or do you, what's the thing at Harvard there?
That's a good question. I don't know if I can represent for all of Harvard, but what about, I want to hear what you think. What have you come up with so far based on what you've heard? Honey,
let me tell you this, and I want to say this to my closest people like you. I'm 88 years old, and I remember in school, philosophy class, the instructor quoting someone, I forget who it was, George Centennial or someone, I don't know. Begin in doubt and end in certainty. Begin in certainty, end in doubt. Well, I'm sorry. I still don't know where I am. I still don't know, and people laugh when I tell them this, but I don't know if I believe in determinism or not. I haven't made up my mind yet. Do I have a choice? Do I have a choice, or has it been determined genetically by my past schedules of reinforcement and all those things of the environment? I hope I make up my mind before I croak. Because
it's such a good question. It's so hard to know. I mean, and what I've learned along the way is that theories are made by humans, right? And they're based on data or experience or any kind of prior knowledge. And so I've never found one theory that is really able to capture the complexity of humans or the way that the whole world works. But instead, I find that different theories can offer different kernels of truth or helpful information. And so, finding ways to incorporate the aspects of theories that resonate with you can be really helpful. And also knowing that, maybe we can never know the answers to some of these questions. What I find is helpful is to figure out what works best for you in terms of helping you lead a meaningful life, a life with purpose. And then, using that to guide you as you move forward with, how to incorporate these theories. And sometimes the best way to go is just to be on that quest. And that's what keeps things exciting rather than having to decide, do you believe in one theory, another theory, an integration of the theories? That's my perspective.
But you're too young to have to worry about that yet. You got years to go before.
Oh, and that's why I like to learn from you about what you think right now about these different, approaches. But you're not sure?
As I said, I at times I say, no, I'm not a determinist. I believe that as they say, there's that autonomous man inside me who's making those decisions.
Yeah.
And other times when I read and say, no, there is no autonomous man. That decision has up. I remember in reading in one of the anthropology books, they talked about the experiment that this brain surgeon did. He was an experimental and everything. And when we react to something, there's the signal that goes one, then another signal, and the decision. And everyone thinks that the decision to act comes first, and then the next, and then the next. But when they put it under controls and everything, the decision to act didn't come first. It was the things up there that came first. So we're not making those decisions. It's an illusion.
Oh, it's confusing. It's confusing for sure, for sure. And with determinism, you know that there are elements that have to be true because of the way that your successive approximations work so well, or reinforcement schedules, can work so well. And I certainly spend a lot of my career teaching parents about how to promote positive behavior, how to decrease problematic behavior through using rewards and other, forms of reinforcement. And so I think there are elements of truth for sure. And then at the same time, I've read a lot of research about how people who believe in free will tend to be more optimistic, feel more moral responsibility. And so, is this idea we have free will true? Hopefully, at least to some extent, because I think that it would be depressing in some ways to feel like we just have no power over making our choices.
Honey, have you heard, or I'm sure you've heard of the book Sapiens?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't read it yet.
Now, read it, because especially at the end of now what he has done, of course, and I can see he's taken things from anthropologists, from historians, from economists, from biologists, and pulled these things together and has come up with some things. But when he's talking about, so far, design has all been by biology design. There is no design the way it works, according to the biologists. What was the famous guy's name? Whose theory is it? My memory.
Darwin.
Darwin, yeah, Darwin. Everything is, but it's not a design by any super. It's just crazy. That's the way it works. And he says for all these billions of years, so it's been designed by selective things. However, we're now approaching the thing where selective design, according to that, we're moving past it. And he talks about cyborgs and intelligence, artificial intelligence, where we're going to be able, they're working on computers that, you look at some of these science fiction, hey, that's what they're doing. They're doing it, my God. Then
Wow.
where are we?
All right.
Fortunately, I won't be here and have to worry about that, but I'm curious about it. I'm curious about it.
I'm curious too. And I'm always here to listen and to learn. So if you have ideas you want to share anytime, I'm happy to hear.
Okay, so honey, now tell me about your husband. What's he do?
Yeah, he's wonderful. So he works in a lobby organization focused on ensuring that there's a strong relationship between the United States and Israel. So he has a master's in Middle Eastern politics. So definitely a very different area of expertise than myself. So it makes for good conversation, and I learn a lot from him.
Well, listen, Lauren, how about this reminiscences, a few reminiscences? Do you remember anything about the day school? Any big drama that went on?
I don't know about big drama, but I certainly, I have so many memories from the day school. And I feel like I've just been left with this overall positive sentiment, from the day school, and just little kind of snapshots of different things, such as, when we go on those Phipps Park outings or the Banquet of the Gods. I felt so lucky and honored that I was chosen to be Athena, the goddess of wisdom. I'll never forget that. Our pet shows, were so much fun. And at some point, I think it was Mr. Young was trying to feed this little rat to his big snake, and I was just not okay with the idea of animals getting fed to a snake. So I somehow ended up taking that rat home and kept that as a pet for a few years. My parents were probably very happy that I showed up with a rat. What else? Field day, of course. It's so many great times at field day. Go Flamingos. And this morning, actually, my 2.5-year-old, she woke up and I asked her, did you have any dreams? And she said, yes. I said, oh, what were your dreams about? And she was so excited to exclaim, flamingos. So I'm definitely keeping the tradition alive of love for flamingos in my family. And, I think so many friendships there, so many students that I just had such great times with. And, thank goodness for Facebook to get to kind of see what people are doing these days. But, most importantly, I think my teachers, every teacher, that I had, I won't list them all because I don't want to miss anyone, but they made such an indelible mark on who I am as a person and just how I approach the world, and they cultivated my love for learning. And so, I want to help others feel so connected to, important adults in their lives and to school in general. So yeah, just lots of really positive memories.
Well, honey, it's been so great. Listen, how often do you get to town here?
Not nearly enough, but I do want to be coming more often, especially, being here in the winters. I like to try to take strategic vacations and preferably to Palm Beach, somewhere warm. And so hopefully after the pandemic, I'll be able to come down there and visit you all.
Well, okay, promise me that before you come down, you give me a call the day or two before so we can get a lunch date set, okay?
Yes, I would love that. That sounds
I
great.
hope that by the next time I see you, I've made up my mind, but I don't know. I don't think I'm going to. I think I'm croaking. I'm going to, I don't know.
I hope so. Yeah, I look forward to hearing all about what you have to teach me.
Okay, and tell your mom and dad that I said hello, and your brothers, okay? And
I will. I know I'm the oldest of 6. I have so many siblings that all went through the day school, or it used to be the day school day academy now, right? Yes, and they're all doing really well, which is so nice.
Bart might have a few questions for you about this thing before we go, okay?
Oh, of course, yeah.
Okay, dear, I love you.
Oh, you too. I love you
I
too.
love
Thank you so much. It's so good to see you.